Before we actually get into this video, I wanted to preface it by acknowledging the horrific incident that we saw earlier this week involving Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin. While Damar is still currently in critical condition while recording this, and with this video originally being set to post the day of the incident, it feels only right to sponsor this video with nothing other than Damar Hamlin's Toy Drive fundraiser, which, as I'm sure some of you have seen by now, has raised millions of dollars over the past few days in support of Damar Hamlin and his continuing fight to recovery. So if you are willing and able, all I can ask is for you to just consider donating to his cause. The link to this will be at the top of our description, and thank you so much. You know, you guys, it's pretty ridiculous thinking about this in hindsight, considering my last video discussing the Green Bay Packers just a couple weeks back was, for the most part, essentially covering the ultimatum that Green Bay was facing between riding out Rodgers and the slim playoff hopes they had for the rest of the season, or of course, temporarily and even potentially for the long run, handing the keys over to Jordan Love and seeing what he had. And well, while it's clear as day at this point, at least to most people out there, Green Bay probably made the right choice. Because yes, despite having a mediocre seeming 8-8 record on the season and being just on the precipice of a postseason berth depending on how they finish the year, there's still very good reason to believe that Green Bay's play could only continue to be on an incline from here on out. And through what we've seen out of them over the last couple of weeks, I'll just say that some teams around the league might not necessarily be prepared for it, so let's get into it. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to drop a like on the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NFL video. We're going to continue to come out with brand new NFL content every single week around here, so trust me, you don't want to miss it. But anyway, to get back on topic with the Green Bay Packers, it is definitely not a secret that out of all struggles this team saw to begin this season, that the offense was probably the biggest frustrator out of all of them to most Packers fans. Because I mean, well, with having one of the most consistent offensive units over the past couple of years since the takeover of Matt LaFleur as head coach, and now going through a situation this season that Packers fans have not had to endure in a while, and essentially bringing in the new era of Packers wide receivers and guys like Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, who, while in hindsight to say right now, is pretty obvious that they're both going to eventually turn into something special, back more towards the beginning of the season when many were still waiting to see how long it would take for the chemistry to build between Aaron Rodgers and some of his new weapons, but at some point, that breakthrough seemed like an eternity away. And honestly, the craziest part about it is even with their miraculous midseason turnaround this year, if you're still looking for that quote-unquote breakthrough within the statistics, I'll be the first person to tell you that it's still not there. In fact, if you want to look specifically into their air production, they're actually down significantly in this recent stretch compared to what they were doing at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, the question still obviously remains, where is all of this coming from? Well, while there are definitely multiple contributing factors to all of this, I think the biggest reason can be titled as simply as the Christian Watson effect. Because aside from him absolutely bursting onto the scene as of recently to be the potential wide receiver one of the future for the Packers with his elite speed, route running excellence, and also, of course, touchdown scoring abilities, his very undervalued impact of being able to stretch and manipulate opposing defenses has led the Pack to thrive more as an offensive unit than we've seen them this entire year. Because once again, as most of you guys know, and the numbers show for it, testifying to his ridiculous speed, he is the deep threat that Aaron Rodgers has wanted and needed for quite some time now. And even though sometimes, especially as of recently, as he's seemingly finally cooled down after his historic outbreak, while he has clearly worked wonders for the offense, it is still by no means quote-unquote solely dependent on him, at least from a production standpoint, which, believe it or not, seemed to be the growing narrative surrounding the Packers and Watson after his ridiculous rise into the Rookie of the Year conversation. But instead, while yes, the Packers are clearly never going to turn down a 100+ yard receiving 3-touchdown performance from Watson whenever he he's able to pull one out. However, when that isn't happening, just his presence as a threat on the field has been one of the biggest reasons that we've seen a complete rejuvenation in the Packers run game. Because if you're a Packers fan watching this, and hell, even if you aren't, you've probably already heard the tale as old as time this season in asking the very simple question of why aren't the Packers running the damn ball? Because, I mean, to most people's perspective when thinking about this, when you have a widely considered top 10, even top 5 running back duo in the league on your team in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, you should at least be a top 10 team in this regard, especially with how inconsistent the passing attack has been for the majority of this season. And while I definitely do see valid reasons as to why you might make this case, it's still, while it might not seem like it at least, might have been the best situation that Green Bay hasn't been trying to consistently overutilize this ground game. And what exactly do I mean by this? Well, the Packers were simply just trying to avoid becoming too predictable, which is something that they haven't had to worry about over the last couple of years. Because why and how they've been able to be so consistently dominant on this side of the ball is usually due in large part to their dynamic two-way threat offense. And as mentioned, with the passing game finally hitting its efficient stride and being something that opposing teams finally have to worry about to a higher degree once again, and as we mentioned earlier, with Christian Watson sometimes being able to act as a decoy and make defenders play a game of pick your poison between defending the deep ball or the ground game, I'll just say that with this team's recent resurgence in their passing game, it's absolutely no coincidence that their ground game is also being utilized at a season-high rate. And even to circle back and focus on the passing game once again, with Watson now drawing more attention to himself than really anyone could have expected or predicted this early in his career, it has very clearly allowed other weapons in guys like Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, Tonyan, and even Romeo Doubs finally returning from injury to also be able to continually push this offense down the field in the short game when needed. And the passing attack, along with Aaron Rodgers' steady numbers over the last couple of games, all again while Christian Watson has essentially taken a step back production-wise, is really all you need to say this offense has finally found their identity and seemingly at the literal perfect time. But while much praise and credit has been given to this offense, rightfully so, for the turnaround that they've had, there was absolutely no way that we were going to get through this video without also mentioning the stellar uprise of the defense as well. Because as most of you know, while this side of the ball might have actually been the most hyped up portion of this team heading into this season, the early results in play that we're seeing from them were honestly far worse than I think anybody could have even predicted. But over the last couple of weeks, specifically even since the bye, these guys are finally playing up to the expectations they've had for the entire season. And yes, even though I know most of you watching are probably aware that their run defense still hasn't quite figured it out yet this year, their pass prevention on the other hand, I'm sure to the surprise of some of you, is one of the best in all of football right now. Now, am I trying to say that their improved defense is going to end up being the make or break reason they make the postseason and or see any success thereafter? I mean, maybe, but with their offense just seeming to continue to go up in terms of production and dependability, their defense finally being able to hold their own and even make big plays on a game-to-game basis, and even the massive threat they have now on special teams in returner Keyshawn Nixon, which is something the Packers haven't had in almost a decade. If it wasn't obvious to you already, this team is clearly peaking at the perfect time. But will it result with more than some of us might have expected? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Nonetheless though, you guys, with everything we've mentioned so far regarding the Green Bay Packers, I am also extremely curious to hear what you all have to think about their situation. So please be sure to let me know in the comments what has been the most surprising part to you from everything we've seen regarding the Green Bay Packers' ridiculous midseason turnaround, and also if they are to make the postseason, how far could you potentially see them making it if all goes their way. But again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to drop a like on the video down below if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. As mentioned, we're coming out with brand new NFL content every single week, so trust me, you don't want to miss it. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you out there for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything, you all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.